Our freedom continues to be under attack, particularly freedom of speech. It's not so much under attack in imminently today as it was in 2020 and 2021. But we all remember those dark days. And someone that I met on the freedom rallies in London to protest against these things back in the day was a wonderful musician. And I have him now on the show. And this is Gonzalo Carrera. Gonzalo, welcome to the show.
Hi, David. Thank you so much for letting me in. It's a real honor and a privilege to be with you. You are a fantastic politician and a great man and a great Christian too, I have to say.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you to say so. You too. But, and I'm so glad that you went out with hundreds of thousands of people and showed your face and raised your voice against tyranny in this country. And it was happening all around the world. But obviously, you are in the music business. And one of the things I found really strange was you have all of these musicians, famous musicians who are rock and roll, rebellious, whatever. They have this image of being a bad boy or a bad girl, but yet they all rolled over and followed the establishment. There were very, very few musicians who stood up against tyranny at the time.
Correct.
Why do you think that was?
I think, David, the problem is because people that are being very indoctrinated, and I think it's almost like a spiritual war, this,
Mm.
because it's nothing to do about your social status or your experience, or if you've been in university and you have a PhD. I think people that were working class, they could see through it straight away. But of course, people like, let's say, Ozzy Osbourne, Mick Jagger, Paul McCartney, Sting, all these people that are part of the establishment, so they feel the governments, they have taken care of them all their lives and they really owe them a favor. So everyone
Mm.
just believed without any kind of questioning anything that there was a pandemic, there was a deadly virus out there. As you know, David, they never gave any scientific evidence of COVID-19. The virus was never isolated. And your good friend Madeleine, which is fantastic,
Mm.
the secretary of the Heritage Party, he showed me the contracts of the Coronavirus Act. Actually, he did say, although in the media and the governments they were saying we have to lock down, otherwise 500,000 people could die. As you know, in the paper it says it's up to the local council if they want to do a lockdown, although there was no evidence of pandemic. But yeah, all these great musicians, Steve, Paul McCartney, they just follow the narrative because they were terrified to be called. That's the thing I found out, David. When I first started complaining that to do lockdowns will make the educational system to go backwards. Kids that they were in university, primary
Mm.
school, secondary school, they will go backwards as well. Also the business. There were cases of people that they killed themselves, they committed suicide because they suffer from depression or they didn't have no income at all. They didn't know how they were going to pay the mortgage, etc. So yeah, the only big name that he was really brave was Eric Clapton actually.
Mm.
He did have the vaccines, as you know, and he did say he felt some very strange side effects. And all his colleagues, they were saying he's mad, he's far right. Again, they were telling me the same thing, far right. And they were telling me things like, you sound like a Donald Trump supporter. And I go, hang on a second. I was listening to the media for years thinking that Donald Trump was really bad. I'm not saying he's a saint, but I agree with him with many things, actually. So
Yeah.
it's nothing to do with left or right. It's doing the right thing, like you say about your party. It's paying a political party with common sense, actually, David. Also, a lot of actors, big actors and big musicians and artists, they were getting paid by the government to do propaganda about COVID-19, stay home, save lives. It was pretty much like pure communism, actually, David. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I would say this is cultural Marxism, which has it
Yes.
infiltrated the arts. We're
That,
used to seeing that in universities, but the arts, musicians and artists and authors and actors who are supposed to be, on the side of the people, they totally capitulated. And isn't that bizarre? Eric Clapton getting called far right. I mean,
that
that's just completely ridiculous.
exactly. By all his great colleagues, they were saying that he was far right. Uh, when I started feeling that something wasn't right, I have a good friend that you met, Mark Windows. He
Yes.
told me about, I met him doing a gigs because he's a singer as well. I think it was a private function at the Canadian House in Trafalgar Square. And he told me about Agenda 21 2030. By coincidence, he was living in Walthamstow like me. And I said to Mark, they're going to do lockdowns. I saw the documents on the local councils in England, in Spain, USA, the population plan, etc. And I said to him, are you sure, Mark, about this? Yeah, they want to do like a communist dictatorship. If you are not agreed, you will be called like a black sheep or you will be called a far right. No, it can't be right. So when 2020 came, I saw the lockdowns, I saw the hysteria in Spain, in England, and Italy. I called Mark and I said, "Is this what you were telling me years ago?" Yes, yes, I can confirm that definitely. Yeah, but
Wow.
exactly, if you weren't going with the narrative, you will be called far right. I mean, they forgot about COVID now, right? It's unbelievable.
Mm.
It's just incredible. But in Spain was worse, David, because over here I never wore a mask or even when I went to renew my Spanish passport at the Spanish consulate, they asked me one, and I say, "Oh, I'm exempt." But I remember the security guards in the kind of in the shopping centers. They were telling me, "Wow, you are very brave. You never wear a mask," because I knew them. I mean, now they forgot about it. I remember when they started opening up everything, going to a studio near White Hart Lane. It was just after the lockdowns, and I said, probably there's not going to be many people. It was full of people without masks, without. They just forgot
Mm.
about it completely. It was a kind of psychological warfare, definitely, David. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. And I think people are very interested in Spain. Obviously, that's what the country that is most visited by British people when we go abroad.
exactly.
Many British people live there. But, you say there it was worse, wasn't it? I mean, I remember people were being trapped inside their apartments. They
That's
weren't even allowed to go out for
correct.
weeks.
Correct. And if you will go out, you will be called. They will call the police, etc. It was unbelievable. But again, the most famous artists, they were doing big propaganda as well, stay home, save lives, about the vaccine as well. Now, as you know, they're saying they're advising not to use AstraZeneca anymore and put it out of the market. I mean, so we were right? So,
Yeah.
but going back to the politics, David, I used to think, and this is nothing to do with left or wing or right wing. I don't want everyone to get annoyed or get kind of personal about it. It's to do the right thing as a human being, right? It doesn't matter
Mm.
your faith, whether you are a Muslim, a Christian, or Jewish. What happened, David, when I was a little kid, I think Franco, we have a dictator called Franco,
Yeah.
which he was considered far right. Well, at the end of the day, with Franco, there was an incredible, huge economical growth. Between
Mm.
1960 and 1975, I mean, we were only behind Japan, actually. I mean, we were so
Right.
high. There was no inheritance tax. Mortgages, they will be paid within 10 years. There
Mm.
was no big interest rates on credit cards. There was a very good kind of social security as well. So then the democracy came, the socialists they came, and right now, inheritance taxes they are really high. It's
Mm.
impossible to be an employer because they tax you so much that people they decided to do the. I mean, a lot of people they left the hospitality sector as well
Mm.
because they have to pay so much taxes, etc. So they have to choose other jobs as well. So yeah, with Franco, to be honest with you, I think Spain was becoming very strong economically actually, but they tell another story that he was evil, he was fascist, etc.
But that's a really interesting point because you have all of these characters who get so smeared by people on the left who will
That,
destroy your wealth. You know, that
that,
these people they come in and they want to bring inheritance tax, property
exactly,
taxes to destroy families,
exactly
and
to
then
the
they
point that
smear other people. Yeah.
it's nearly impossible to buy. I think it's been like that for years in France and Germany. I mean, Spain
Mm,
and England are very similar on that sense. Everyone in Spain and England they want to have their own property, but it's
mm,
becoming harder and harder now. I mean, as I said, with Franco, he was neutral in the Second World War as well, David.
yeah.
But to be honest with you, before Franco, there was a republic, which there was a coalition of far left, communists, socialists, anarchists, and Spain was going down the hill. After that, there was a right wing kind of conservative moderate group. Then the left they took over, but Spain was going to serious poverty. So
Mm,
Franco, with militants and civilians, they decided to kind of take over and dominate the country. But they call it dictatorship. But the country there was freedom. I mean, you wouldn't be allowed to talk about politics, but you will have your
mm,
own property, have your wealth. You will have. He was even praised by Roosevelt, by Churchill, or by Charles de Gaulle as well. So
mm.
But, but yeah, this is the story. Even they told me some friends I have in Chile. I know you were saying you were in Chile. You went to Chile as well.
I did
Uh,
travel there. Yeah, yeah. Lovely country. Beautiful country. Yeah.
Beautiful country, yeah. Well, funny enough, before Pinochet, which he was a dictator, they have Allende, which he was communist. Again, the country
Mm,
was in poverty. Pinochet came, he was fascist, but there was a lot of economic growth as well, etc. And now the communists, the left are in power, the country is in poverty. They have a problem yesterday in Valparaiso, a friend
mm.
was telling, because they have big fires, same thing like in
Wow.
Hawaii. Basically, people, they don't want to sell their lands, so all of a sudden fires they start happening, and they say it's climate change, of
Wow.
course. So I don't know. It's
I mean, Valparaiso, I've been there. It's a beautiful
yeah,
town. It's
it's
one of the
beautiful.
most well-renowned resorts by the Pacific Ocean. It's in a lovely area, and it's Vina del Mar that's nearby. The whole area is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah,
That's a really interesting thing because I mean the Maui fires. I mean that happened last summer, but that's almost forgotten about now because
yeah.
there's been so many things one after the other that
This
have just been so crazy.
the
But
war
we
in
need to
Gaza.
remember them.
Yeah, there's a lot of distractions, unfortunately, but we need to remember that they're there. Even in my region, Galicia, which is the Celtic part of Spain, in
Mm,
2016 there were fires as well all of a sudden. So
wow.
yeah, it's you wonder. They say it's climate change, but there's a beautiful island in Vigo, my hometown, near my parents' house, where there
Mm,
is a big mountain there. Well, if there was climate change, that island with that building was built in 1966. If it was climate
right.
change, that island would be completely submerged and the building as
Yes,
well.
yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, the
I
banks
think
there
we
because climate
I
change
think we
again.
know that. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah,
Look, we've just got a couple of minutes left. How
yeah.
can we change, music? I mean, you're speaking out. Are there more people in arts that are recognizing the insanity of wokery, climate alarmism, all these nonsenses that we talk about? Are there more people speaking out about it now, or are people still afraid and go along with the narrative?
Correct. That's exactly. They are still
Mm.
afraid. I think, I don't know. Maybe they kind of you kind of sign like a like some kind of a special thing when you are signed with a big record company, so you have
Ah,
to go along with all the kind of mainstream that they tell you. None of them
mm,
they want to speak out there. In fact, there's a member of a famous band that I tried to bring with me to Mark Windows show, and he said, "Let's talk about the LTNs, the low traffic neighborhoods." And yeah,
mm.
sounds great because bands they find it hard to tour. Though, like in the 60s or 70s or in the 80s or the 90s, you could travel around with your band. Now it's very hard. It's becoming very expensive, the petrol. So we tried to invite this member of a famous band, a rock band, and he checked Mark's website, and I think at the end he said, "Oh, I'm very busy." So they are all very, apart from
Ah.
Eric Clapton or Ian Brown, they're all very afraid. That's why, David.
Those two are really good. I remember Ian Brown put
Yeah,
out some amazing tweets at the beginning,
correct.
opposing lockdowns and masks and everything. Look, Gonzalo, it's really great to have you on the show, and I know you are not afraid to speak out. But it's hard
Yeah,
because you've got to be independent to do that, and
exactly.
so that's a tough thing. But despite that, you keep on speaking out, and you go and you spread the message of freedom and hope, and give such positivity to everyone who hears you. So thank you so
That's
much
fine. It's my
for
pleasure.
what you do and for coming
Thank
on the
you.
show.